was he first in? He was the first in everything. He was the first man to accept Islam, the first companion to publicize his Islam, the first person to openly declare his embracing of Islam, the first companion to preach Islam and bring the likes of the 10 promised to Jannah to Islam, including Sayyiduna Umar and Sayyiduna Uthman RadiAllāhu ta'ala excluding Sayyiduna Umar, including Sayyidina Uthman, Sayyidina Talha and all the other companions. They were brought into Islam through the efforts of Sayyidina Bakr Siddiq RadiAllāhu. He was the first companion to migrate to Medina Sharif, the first companion to buy the land on which is built Masjid Nabawi Sharif, the first and always the first to support and help the Prophet ﷺ, the first and only companion to lead the Muslims in prayer whilst the Prophet ﷺ was still physically alive. And there's a narration where the Prophet ﷺ was in Maradul Maut. The Prophet ﷺ was severely ill. There was no companion to lead. The adhan had been given. There was no one to lead them in prayer because it was the Prophet ﷺ. Hazrat Bilal al-Habshi radiallahu ta'ala spots Sayyidina Umar. He looked and he saw Umar. So he grabbed the hand of Umar and said, "You lead the people in prayer." Hazrat Umar began to read. And he had Sawtun Jahwari, he had a very loud voice. The Prophet ﷺ heard him. And the Prophet ﷺ removed the veil of his chamber and he said, "La, la, la, inna Allah wa rasulahu ya'ba illa Aba Bakr." No, no, it cannot be. You cannot stand on the musalla because Allah and His Prophet ﷺ reject that anyone stands on the prayer of mat of the Prophet ﷺ except for Abu Bakr Siddiq RadiAllāhu Anhu. And he is the one who led an entire namaz. Whilst the Prophet ﷺ was still alive, the Prophet ﷺ prayed an entire namaz behind Abu Bakr Siddiq RadiAllāhu Anhu. He's the first and the only companion to sacrifice all of his wealth in the famous narration, during the battle, preparation of the Battle of Tabuk. He's the first companion that always understood the hidden secrets of the Prophet ﷺ, as was apparent in the farewell pilgrimage. He was the first Khalif of Islam, the first Khalif to have been appointed whilst his father Uthman Abu Quhafa was still alive, the first Khalif who compiled the Quran Sharif in a book form. The Quran Sharif that we recited today, thanks to Abu Bakr Siddiq RadiAllāhu, the first companion to order that the Quran should be compiled in a mushaf is Abu Bakr Siddiq RadiAllāhu Anhu. The first Khalif to have conquered the Persians in Iraq and Romans in the Sham, Abu Bakr Siddiq. The first Khalif to create the Muslim treasury, the Baytul Mal, is Abu Bakr Siddiq. The first Khalif to have his salary fixed by public opinion was Abu Bakr Siddiq. The first Khalif to defend the belief of the finality of the prophethood, the Khatmun Nubuwwah, and defeating the false prophet Musaylim al-Kadhdhab is Abu Bakr Siddiq. The first and only known companion to pass away on the same day as the Prophet ﷺ, having the same age, 63 years, being buried in the same place, is Abu Bakr Siddiq RadiAllāhu. The first companion to rise from his grave with the Prophet ﷺ, with his hand in the hand of the Prophet ﷺ, is Abu Bakr Siddiq RadiAllāhu. The first man to enter from paradise, from every single door, whilst the angels will be calling him, "Marhaba, marhaba, welcome, welcome Abu Bakr. Come from this door, the door of zakah, come from the door of jihad, come from the door of saum, come from the door of salah, come from the door of tahajjud, come from the door of recitation of the Quran," will be Abu Bakr Siddiq RadiAllāhu. The first and only companion that will see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment in a unique manner, different to everyone else, is Abu Bakr Siddiq RadiAllāhu Anhu. The first and only Khalif who was entitled Khalifatu Rasulillah is Abu Bakr Siddiq RadiAllāhu Anhu. The only Khalif, the only Sahabi whose suhbah, whose companionship, who has been mentioned as a Sahabi in the Quran is Abu Bakr Siddiq RadiAllāhu Anhu. There are many of these things. Inshallah, if we have time, we shall mention these later on. But this is just a glimpse into the life of the greatest man who walked on the face of this earth after the prophets and messengers, Sayyiduna wa Maulana Abu Bakr Siddiq RadiAllāhu Anhu. Read his life, read his biography, understand the amount of things that he sacrificed for Islam, understand the zeal and the passion that he had to propagate Islam far and wide. This is why today, even after 1400 years, we are still Muslims, because of our Islam. We owe our Islam to Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq and all of the Khulafa, all of the Sahaba of the Prophet ﷺ. May Allah be pleased with them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive all of us sins through them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept this majlis of ours through their wasila. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen.